Welcome to Knitting with Jane. Last week I showed you how to cast off, and this week I'm going to show you how to decrease. So enjoy! Welcome to Knitting with Jane. I'm going to do a quick recap of how to cast off, and I've been working on a piece of stocking stitch here. Remember, that's knitting on one side and purling on the other side. So to cast off, we'll do it on the knit side, and you knit 2 stitches to begin. Sorry, I'm a bit clumsy. Knit 2 stitches and then take the first stitch and pass it over the second. Knit another stitch and pass it over. Let's begin by taking a look at the various methods we can use to decrease on our work. So I'm going to show you the very simplest decrease. It's just you take your first 2 stitches that are on your needle and you put your knitting needle in at the left hand side of them and you knit them together. So that's just knit 2 together. And normally if you're doing it at an edge, you would then just carry on and complete your row. And that's the very simplest way of doing a decrease. Let's take a closer look at that. Right, so this is to decrease those first 2 stitches that are on your needle. You put the needle into the left of them and right through. So you've both stitches on your needle and then just knit it as normal and take it off. So now you've got 1 stitch where you had 2 and you can knit to the end of your row. To show you a different decrease now, and it's one I used when I was making this jumper. Can you see here? It means you can actually see a nice little sort of pattern up there, and I used it right the way up at the beginning of every row here and at the end of every row here to decrease, to shape the raglans. So I'm going to show you how to do that now, but I'll just need to come to the end of my row here. Right. So to do this particular decrease, you knit your first stitch and then you slip a stitch and then you knit a stitch and then you pass your slip stitch over. As nearly like when you're casting off, and then you continue the rest of your row. And it gives you a little edge to your work, similar to this, as I've showed you. Take a closer look at that. Knit your first stitch and then slip the second stitch. That means just pass it over onto the needle without doing anything to it. And then knit the next stitch and then take your left hand needle and pass your slip stitch over. And that makes a decrease. And then knit to the end of your row. Our final way to decrease is just a little bit fancier. So you knit your first stitch and the next 2 stitches you knit together, but you knit them together through the back of the stitches. And it just makes them twist a little bit and gives you a little bit of a fancier edge. But remember, whichever way you choose to decrease, if you're using it on one garment, always do it the same way. Let's take a closer look at that final stitch. Knit your first stitch as before, and then for the knit 2 together, you knit 2 together. So you put your needle in as normal, but you face it to the back of your work and you knit your 2 stitches together. And it just twists them slightly on your needle and then knit to the end of your row. So these are decreases that you put at the beginning of a row. I think that's enough for this week. Keep practicing what I've showed you, and next week I'll show you how to increase your stitches. So it's goodbye from Knitting with Jane.